Thank you, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have heard, the exploration of the solar system is a wonderfully inspiring stimulus and testament to human curiosity, imagination, and the spirit of adventure. Exploration pushes science and technology forward, helping us to understand where we come from and where we are going. So if the motion before this House were, this House would explore Mars, or this House would visit Mars, or this House would establish some sort of limited and circumscribed human presence on Mars, a bit like the International Space Station, I would be on the other side of the debate. But I cannot agree that this House should populate Mars. There are people in Antarctica, but the continent has not been populated. People go there temporarily, they do some science, and then they come home to warmth and civilization. This motion is not about that. It's about settling Mars, colonizing Mars, establishing bases, indeed cities, in which millions of people will spend ultimately their whole lives. That is the goal that Elon Musk has avowed, so that is what I think this motion is really about. Why should we oppose populating Mars? In the interest of brevity, I will limit myself to 3 reasons. The first is that Mars is not fit for human habitation. It is a dusty, airless, frozen desert on which the distant sun sheds a diminished light. It is silent except for the wind. There is no rainfall, no birdsong, no plant life, and precious little shelter from the carcinogenic radiation pouring in from space. To arrive on Mars may be a momentary triumph, but to live there would be to endure a dreary, punishing, and rather empty existence that could only be made bearable by the promise of a return home to Earth. Mars will not simply break your body. It will, but only for reasons that engineers and medics can perhaps solve. It's worse than that. Mars will break your spirit. If anywhere on Earth was so unremittingly harsh, nobody would want to live there. Not under glass domes, not in pods, not in tunnels, not at all. So why should we? Why should we build cities in a place where even the air we breathe would have to be manufactured by extractive industries? The idea of populating Mars sounds inspiring, grand, epic, futuristic. The place has a romantic significance for us, the red star beckoning to us across space, its presence felt throughout human history. Plenty of people feel the lure of that story. These are the people who would go to Mars even on a one-way ticket, or so they say, full of pride at being in the first wave of settlers of a new world, believing that they are answering the glorious call of history. But the Mars waiting for them is not the one they imagine. Mars is not magic. It is not a god capable of filling our lives with meaning. It is not some utopian future waiting to happen. It is not a ruby. It is a place. It is not a nice place. In many ways, it is a horrible place. Eerily beautiful, yes, but cruel, gloomy, and desolate. Why would we want to live there? The utopians say we should change Mars, transforming it into a second Earth and seeding it with life. I'm not saying that terraforming Mars is impossible, but it would be astronomically expensive, slow, and messy, and the result would probably be horrifying. Billions of years of dust, mixed with large quantities of liquid water, would turn Mars literally into mud, destroying landscapes and formations, some of which may be older than life on Earth. What a shameful, aesthetically stupid, anti-scientific act of vandalism that would be. And to what end? That brings me to my second argument, which is that populating Mars would not solve any real human problem. It would advance science and technology, but even uncrewed exploration does that. And despite what Musk and his ilk proclaim, populating Mars is not going to save the human race or preserve the biosphere as a whole from extinction. Climate change may ruin civilization as we know it, but it is not going to make Earth less habitable than Mars. not at 2 or 3 or even 5 degrees of global warming. Viral or bacterial diseases, perhaps maliciously designed and weaponized, may decimate the human population. But if we wish to isolate segments of the population from contagion, we can do so here on Earth, where the survivors would have a better chance of making it long term than they would on Mars. If AI turns malevolent and manages to eliminate humanity on Earth by turning our own machines against us, I see no reason why it should stop at Earth. Indeed, humans on Mars will be especially vulnerable to machines gone awry, since they will depend on sophisticated technology for the very air they breathe, as we have heard. It is extremely improbable that an asteroid or comet will wipe us out. It would have to be a much larger and rarer impactor than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs, which incidentally didn't even wipe out the dinosaurs. The birds are still here. Indeed, we know a few, if any, calamities that humanity cannot expect to survive in some form, even if it means hiding in underground bunkers or on the sea floor, which, by the way, would be much easier to populate than the surface of Mars. I don't want to be glib about existential risk. There are probably many risks to humanity that we are not even aware of yet. Perhaps just to be on the safe side, we should build well-provisioned bunkers on the moon or in space or even on Mars, maintained by crews on rotation from Earth and capable of receiving evacuees. If you think the human species is worth saving from all possible dangers and at any cost, you might want to support something like that. But that is still a far cry from populating Mars. There are easier ways to save humanity with greater probability of success. The third reason to oppose populating Mars is that a better way of relating to our environment on Earth and beyond is possible. We can choose to see Mars and the other worlds of our solar system as what they are, not real estate earmarked for development, but beautiful, unearthly wildernesses, full of great spectacles waiting to be seen and great scientific discoveries waiting to be made. This is our inheritance, ours and generations yet unborn. And we must receive it in a spirit of inquiry and stewardship, not territorial expansionism, not techno-utopianism. Mars has a long history of disappointing human expectations. If we go to Mars as conquering Caesars, we may soon tire of our new dominions. They offer little strategic advantage and much fruitless hardship. If we go to Mars as tourists or ticket sellers, we may make a little money and play an unusual round of golf. But sooner or later, the novelty of space tourism will wear off. After all, it's a long, dangerous, and costly journey to see landscapes that will start to lose their glamour and prestige as they become more familiar to us, less exotic, more tainted by human waste and human footprints. Only if we go to Mars as scientists, explorers, artists, and careful conservationists will we find a world worth cherishing. And to preserve that world, we must tread very carefully indeed. Mars has much to offer us, scientifically, aesthetically, and culturally, but these treasures are fragile. There may or may not be indigenous life forms there. Already we know that Mars does produce many interesting and complex geochemical phenomena that we do not understand. It would be all too easy to contaminate the thin Martian atmosphere or deep groundwater, damaging pristine ancient environments, and yes, perhaps even alien ecosystems irreversibly. Human settlements can only multiply and exacerbate these unnecessary risks to our common heritage. Let us visit Mars to learn, explore, and discover, and then let us leave it the way we found it. Perhaps we don't deserve it yet, but I hope that one day people from Earth will explore the vast hazy canyons of Valles Marineris and watch electric blue sunsets over Mount Olympus. And then I hope they can go safely home to feel the rain again, to hear birdsong, to breathe fresh air, and to swim in the oceans of Earth. If we are lucky enough to be alive when the first astronaut steps down onto the surface of Mars, nobody will be prouder or more delighted than I will, except perhaps the astronaut herself. But my goodness, I hope it's not a one-way ticket. I hope we can bring her home. Home means Earth. There is no planet B, ladies and gentlemen. I urge you to oppose the motion.